of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I will take a motion to suspend the rules to move executive session and the subsequent resolution to immediately following salute to the flag.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Okay, we're going to go into executive session with the council, chief, and Ben Clark. We're going to go to council. We will recess to C8 instead of having everybody else leave. So we are now going into executive session.
Mayor, you voted on it?
So did we not vote?
No, we didn't vote.
Oh, okay. Well, let's do that then. Okay, in that case, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. I guess I'm ready to move. All right, you ready? All right, we're going to go to C8. Chief? Please. Okay, thank you. We are back in regular session. Councilor Norris?
Oh, this is going to be interesting. Therefore, may it be resolved that the mayor and council approve the appointment of Benjamin Clark as a probationary police officer grade D in the city of Groton Police Department, waive the residency requirements, and that the appointment be effective September 19, 2022. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Chief, there you go. Chief, you have the floor. And then I'll open it up to council.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, councilors. At the City of Groton Police Department, we have continuously been engaged in the officer hiring process. It has been hard for all local police departments to find quality individuals that have the eagerness and desire to become police officers. We have been able to locate an individual with the desire and the right demeanor. And I have the privilege to present him tonight to you. Tonight I have brought before you Benjamin Clark. Ben was born and raised in Groton. He attended elementary and middle school at Sacred Heart School here in the city. After graduating Fitch High School in 2013, he went on to attend Newberry College in Brookline, Massachusetts. Ben graduated at the top of his class with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a minor in psychology in 2017. After graduating college, he moved back to Groton and began working in the security section of Foxwoods Casino, where he worked his way through the ranks to become security supervisor. Ben has been employed with our department as a police dispatcher for the last year. Ben has gone through the entire police application process and has excelled at all levels. At this time, I present Ben Clark to you for your consideration as a City of Groton police officer.
Thank you. Council? Any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Depot?
Just for clarification, I know the resolution says waive the residency requirement, which is that a holdover from another?
It is. It's a typical requirement, not a requirement, but it's typical that we put in the resolutions. We recognize that Ben lives here, but we have that in there in the event that he should decide he wants to move somewhere else.
Okay, just for clarification. Aside from that, I just want to say, as Chief said, every department has had trouble hiring officers, and it's great to have someone from Groton to be a police officer here. And I actually have already heard good things about him when he was a dispatcher from the mayor, so I'm really excited to have another good officer join our ranks, so thank you.
Any other counselors? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. With that, City Clerk, will you please administer the oath?
You ready? All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you, Benjamin Clark, solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut? You will discharge the duties of a police officer, grade D, with the City of Groton in accordance with the law and the rules and regulations of the city and said department. You will faithfully serve our citizens and visitors with honor and integrity, and you will promote and maintain the public trust and adhere to the department's code of ethics. You assume these obligations freely, voluntarily, and without reservations.
I do.
Congratulations. Just have you sign here and date it. Perfect. It was official.
And now comes the pinning.
Yes, the pinning, Ben has his mother and father here and his fiance amongst other individuals of his family here. He has chosen his mother to pin him.
Okay, Okay, Officer Clark, you have the floor.
First, I would like to thank Chief Jenkins for selecting me to be the newest recruit as police officer for the City of Groton Police. I'm grateful and honored to be selected to continue to serve my community and work alongside the great men and women of this department. Secondly, I'm thankful for the council and mayor taking time out of your schedule to be part of this process and doing your due diligence to serve this community. Lastly, I would like to thank my family and friends who are here supporting me today, as you guys always have, and I'm truly grateful. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, so we will recess for 5 minutes. That way we can get pictures here. If you want to stage pictures, we can do that. And we'll also have pictures out in the foyer with council. So we are now in recess. Yes. 6 minutes. How great is that? All right. Are we ready? Okay, test. Okay. Okay, we are back into regular session. We will continue with the agenda of recognitions, awards, and memorials. The one recognition that I have is a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, City of Groton, Connecticut, whereas September 17, 2022 marks the 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorial anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23 as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, Keith Hedrick, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Groton, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17 through 23 as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Groton affixed this 15th day of September of the year of our Lord, 2022. Signed, Keith Hedrick, Mayor, City of Groton. Okay. Any other recognition, awards, memorials from council? All right, moving on. Next thing is receipt of citizen petitions. Receipt of citizens petitions, the portion of the council meeting where the council welcomes comments from citizens. To address the council, please sign a sheet on the table and at the front of the meeting room. When you're recognized, please approach the podium. Clearly state your name and address. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit emailed or written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to the city of Groton. City councilors will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and can respond during the response to citizens petitions portion of the meeting. Is there anyone that has signed up?
Yes, we have Ian Thomas.
Okay.
Good evening. Ian Thomas, 24 Jefferson Drive in Groton. I'm here to speak primarily on the Branford Manor situation, as I was before and will be again. Just wanted to check in briefly. I believe the attorney representing the tenants has sent you all an email with slides attached. So I hope that you all have had a chance to take a look at that. At the last meeting, a number of you expressed some idea or some concerns and questions about what could be done. I believe the attorney included some suggestions in that email. I believe it is time to take aggressive action. From what I've heard from tenants and the attorney, that Related is dragging their feet incredibly and making life very difficult for the people who have registered complaints. I am aware of at least one public health order that's been issued by Ledge Light, and I am aware that Ledge Light went down on, I believe, the 8th of September or thereabouts to do another inspection, a round of inspection of additional units. So I'm curious to know if those results have come back. I would just encourage any and all aggressive, assertive actions you guys can take. I know that default is not a popular concept. However, It is not a termination, it is a process negotiated and held accountable by the court of law, which at this point I believe is necessary for Related in order to make Related comply with their stated responsibilities in the tax abatement agreement, which they have not lived up to. If you look at read the agreement, they were supposed to do these things from 2017 to 2018. During the initial renovation, these things were not done to satisfaction, as evidenced by the complaints that have been registered from 2018 until present day. Also, I'd like to just speak on the election issue as far as the question of moving elections for the city from May to November. I appreciated the responses at the last meeting. I am glad to hear that some of you all are interested in exploring that option. To that end, I know that the Republican committee chair was up here speaking in favor of keeping it in May, and I know that the Democratic town chair was up here also speaking in favor of keeping it in May. However, I understand the Republican town committee has met and discussed the matter, but the Democratic town committee has not yet met to discuss the matter. But all that aside, I don't think it should be up to the political committees alone to weigh in with undue influence on that matter, because as we've learned in this community, the town political committees are not necessarily representative of the community's desires. So to that end, I would recommend exploring the option of taking advantage of the November election coming up this year and perhaps issuing a referendum to the city at large and let the city speak directly to it. Let the community have their say on this matter, get the information out there, explain the situation, and let people wrestle with the idea of how does the city and the town relate? And do they want to have synced up elections with the town, or do they want to have the offset? Personally, I'm in favor of the synced up option. I think it's a great opportunity to educate city and town residents as to how the two municipalities relate and interlock and depend and coexist with each other. So I would just encourage you all to consider that seriously. Let the community decide. I'm not sure the exact process of how that would occur, but I'm sure, we're about 55 days out from the election. I don't know, my math may be off. But either way, I think there's time to probably hustle together some kind of ballot for the districts 2 and 3 to sound off. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay, we're done. Is there anyone else signed up?
We have Portia Bordelon.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Portia Bordelon, 24 Jefferson Drive, I think, yes. Groton, Connecticut. I say Groton, Connecticut because I live in the city, but we're all Groton. And I'm also a Groton Town Councilor. To piggyback off of what Ian just stated, I too agree, as a person who puts the work in and locks a lot of doors for many different people on many different elections, let it be for the city or the town, there's a lot of confusion, and I think that moving it to the same month would actually expand voter turnout and education. Right now, I think the city election, the way it is, it's almost it disenfranchises certain sections of town, in my opinion, because when you knock the door come May, then you have to knock it again in November. People are like, wait a minute, what am I voting for? I just voted. The average person is not educated on the elections like us as people that are directly involved. They're confused. Well, I just voted. I voted for my town council. No, you got to do it again for your city. Oh, okay. If that was all done on the same time, you would be able to kind of capture all of that. It would be able to run hand in hand with the state elections as well, which there's a higher voter turnout. Signage and of course cost. When primaries were run in this town and the city, folks complained. Number one chief complaint was, how come a person can run a primary and cost the taxpayer? If we streamline this, it also cuts cost. I can also agree with Ian that it should not be up to the political party, the Democrats or the Republicans. It should be the community at large, because it's where's the voice of the unaffiliated and the independent, which actually makes up the larger voter base in our town, if you look that up, overwhelmingly. Okay? If every unaffiliated independent showed up, they would outvote basically the other parties by a landslide. My next thing that I would like to speak about is Branford Manor. As you know, I told you I'd keep coming as much as I could. I apologize I missed the last meeting. But I received an email tonight. I'm sure the mayor and the deputy mayor are in receipt of it. I'm not sure if the other councilors are in receipt of it. I received it around 2-something today. It was sent around 7-something from Ledgelight Health District to the town manager, and the town council got it around 2-something, stating that another round of the initial residents was found. They found some violations and concerns and gave them a 60-day. But after another 18 or 19, don't quote me on the number, I rushed from work, read my emails, and then came here, that another 8 units were found in violation of some sort. In the email that I received, it stated that the Ledgelight had sent it to the town manager what those violations were, but to the council that I just received, I did not receive what those violations were. So I sent up an email responding, stating to the town manager that I'd like to know what the violations were. But my first concern was violations were found that was sent at 7 o'clock, and so I, because it's FOIable, sent it to the attorney that's representing the clients, right, the people at large that I serve. They were not aware that violations, they had been found yet. They have not been notified. So here it is 12 hours after. What are those health violations? Are they serious? Are they just a broken rail? Are they a light switch that's not functioning? Is it something that someone should already be out within the 12 hours? I'm concerned about that. I sent my email forward. I encourage you guys to do the same and ask for those emails if you have not received them. But I overwhelmingly am concerned that there's folks that are being represented by this attorney who is also translating. And it's very important that they get that in a timely manner so that she can execute and make sure that they are aware of what's going on. So to my knowledge, as of when I reached out as a counselor doing my due diligence, the attorney stated to me that she did not know that 8 violations were found, and her clients had not been notified as of tonight before I came here, and I called her in my car on the way over.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. So I find that largely arbitrary, disturbing, frustrating, because as a counselor myself, I should know what those violations were. If the town manager got them, I haven't gotten them yet. They might be minor, but the fact that they're there. Also in the Branford Community Forum, a few people reached out to me. They were sending me pictures of guys in hazmat, like white suits, throwing large trash bags out of Building 19. So they told me which building it was. Residents were in the building. It was the crawl space that they were pulling out of. The concern is the ACs are going. It's a little humid out, right? A little damp, but it was a little muggy. Windows may be open, right? It's cool, it's fall. And they're out there pulling this stuff out of crawl spaces, which is blowing up. Residents were occupying the residence while that was happening. Okay? That, if you've been in Branford Manor, the crawl space holes are not that, it's in proximity to the residents. Another concern. Children are outside playing. I know that it was stated by the mayor here that basically they do not want to cause a default because it would cause more money in legal fees necessarily than what the town, thank you, what the city is on the hook for. But I do think you can take a stance, and you can take a strong stance. You can do a collaborative message. A few of the councilors could write something together and say that they want faster action. But I am majorly concerned for the welfare and wealth of the residents and the families and children in Branford Manor. They don't deserve to live like this.
Your time is up.
I'm concerned. Thank you so much, and I look forward to working with you all. Thank you. Oh yeah, I can sign this.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak under citizens' petitions? Okay, thank you. Response to citizens' petitions? Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I can kind of group them both together, but so first I want to address the moving the election option, or really it's keeping the election, because if we don't vote, the election automatically moves. I just want to say that I personally am not making my decision based on what the political committees recommend. I think, just like every other resident or group of residents, their opinion is valuable. I personally am interacting with as many residents as possible to see how they feel about it. And I think we've been trying to, it's come up at our meetings as well, and I think other counselors have spoken to other residents about it. And we do have some time. I think we have to vote by January 1st, I think is the deadline, if I'm not correct. So we do have some time to reach out and get opinions of people. So that is, in my opinion, what we should be doing. I do think political committees have, some of the residents in political committees pay more attention to, they attend more meetings, they are watching, they tend to vote more predictably in all the elections. So they do have maybe more experience voting, and they also reach out, because I know some of the people on the political committees have reached out to other residents also. So while their opinion, I think, has value, it is not what I'm basing my decision on. So there's that. In terms of the thought that it might disenfranchise voters to keep the election in May, the registrar did say that the number of voters is insignificant in May versus November for city residents, that city residents vote in the same percentages in with a maybe 1 or 2% variance, she said, from November to May. So it's a good thought, which is why when the registrar was here, she already had that information prepared, because she had the same thought. So, and I appreciate her. She had a lot of information when she was here, and she kind of went through all the bullet points. But on that one in particular, she did look into that, because no one wants to disenfranchise people, obviously. Regarding Branford Manor, I haven't checked my email in a couple hours because I was at an event right shortly before this meeting. I would say if there's a suspicion that there is some kind of remediation that's not following guidelines, I believe that would be a call to the building inspector, would it not, Mayor? So I would encourage, I don't know who gave that information to you, but if they have that information, or if you can reach out to even give the information to the clerk or to the building inspector, they could look into that if they're improperly remediating that space. It's definitely something for the building inspector to look into. I haven't had a chance to look at the violations that were found, if there were some found just today or yesterday. I would assume that we have to mail them so that they're time-stamped. So that's my guess of why they haven't been received yet. And as a courtesy, I'm sure they emailed them to the town manager and the mayor and councilors so that we would have a heads up. But I'm guessing for certification reasons, they have to be time-stamped in the mail. And that's probably how they send them, which would make sense on a one-day delay to get in the mail to Branford and the resident that made the complaint, or the attorney, if that's who the complaint came from. That would be my guess. If that's not the case, I do think that's something to follow up on, because everyone should have the same information on those complaints. That's all.
Any other counselors? Okay, so on August 30th and 31st, there were inspections that were conducted by Alleged Light and by the City of Groton Building Inspector. There were also inspections that were conducted last Thursday and Friday. The inspections from Thursday and Friday have not been codified. The inspection results from the 30th and 31st have been codified by the building inspector, and they have been sent to the council. There was one that was on 102 Branford Avenue that was sent out by Alleged Light, I think last week or week before. And then I think 7 others came in this morning, and they should be in your mail. They are continuing, so I am continuing to work with Bradford Manor and related in order to get the deficiencies that are fixed or that are identified, get them fixed so that we can have habitable places for moms and their children. There are some people that are being displaced by this, meaning they're being moved into either hotel rooms or into other units. Sometimes there are challenges with trying to move them into the units because the units are not being accepted by the attorney. So they're having to be put into Spring Hill Suites or other locations. In the instances where there are children involved, we are working with the Groton Public School System to ensure that transportation is provided so that there's no disruption in the children going to school. So we are doing that. We are creating a database to track all of the deficiencies and to properly code them based on whether they're mold or material deficiencies. And we're keeping track of that and following up on that. So the proper way is for deficiencies to be identified and then to let us know. It would be great if we had a system where individuals could go to the landlord and bring up deficiencies and then it gets fixed that way. That's optimum. That does not appear to be working. And so therefore, if the information gets put here or is given to us or is listed as a deficiency, we'll take care of it. Facebook is not the proper way to identify deficiencies because it may or may not get it. It may or may not get identified. It may or may not get action. We need to make sure that that people are working together so that we can get the deficiencies identified and remediated. Some of the deficiencies are material. Some of the deficiencies are mold. We have some issues with water inclusion coming in from the basements. And so that is being evaluated. Tomorrow, I have a meeting with Related, and I will get additional information regarding testing and remediation. All the testing of all the units should be completed by now, and I'm waiting to get that information tomorrow. And once I get that information, I'll share it with my council, and I will share it with John, and John can share it with his council. So that's all I have to say regarding Bradford Manor. On the election, I think my recommendation is to get out and talk to people. We have the Democratic City Committee is meeting this week, and my understanding is it will be discussed there at that meeting, so that should address that issue. In addition, when I'm out at Cumberland Farms or when I'm at the beach or when I'm out and about and I see residents, I bring this up and ask them where they are. By and large, everybody wants to keep it in May because they're like, why do we want to change it? It's going to be confusing. I'm not going to know who to vote for and those kind of things. I don't understand why we got to change it. And so that's what I'm getting. I don't know what everybody else is getting, but I expect you to go out and speak to them and not just listen to a handful of people that come out and want to consolidate the elections. So that's that. All right. Anyone else? Councilor McCabe.
In talking with residents that I have about the election, the concern was the sense of self in the city, and in merging with the town, that kind of breaks that down. So that was kind of one of the consensus that I haven't heard anybody else say that I've heard.
Good. Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Carter. We will be discussing this again.
We're gonna,
at Cal
yeah, we're just
and
gonna,
sit next week.
yeah, I understand that. It's just,
Go ahead.
like, I'm somebody from Groton. I lived on both sides. I lived in the town and I grew up in the town. I live in the city. And the
to me, the identity of the city and all that other stuff, I get all that, but, I mean, we know that we're the city of Groton. I just don't, I really don't, I just don't see it, you know? I think that, on my stance, I think it's actually a benefit to actually at least attempt to do it in November, just to see, you know, just to see if it would be better turnout. You know, there's no saying that we can't bring it back to May if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, there is.
You know, we
You can
can't,
keep it in May and then change your mind later on to go to November, but once you go to November, there are no take-backs. It does not allow you to come
do we know that though,
It's
for
in the-
certain?
Yeah, absolutely, it's in the legislation.
That we can't change it back to
That
May
is-
if it doesn't work out?
And we'll talk
Even-
more about that
even- even with
We'll
that,
talk more about that next week.
Yeah,
This-
even with that, and I'm gonna say to what I said to last week, you know, I don't know who the majority of the council's talking to and who they've talking to, but the people that I speak with, the people that I came from, you know, and I've been on this council for years, every time I go out, they wonder why it's not in November. So I hear what some of you guys are saying, but I don't hear this, and I've sat here pretty much longer than anybody here, and I just don't, I don't see it, you know. I think it's a better benefit, you know, and there's a reason why it changed, you know. School's out, people readily can get there, whether it be transportation, whether it be shuttles or whatever. They can get it's one day where we can figure it out, as opposed to, you know, doing two. Plus, it saves money, and we're all about saving money. But for this, it hasn't. We're changing our. It seems to me that we're changing our, you know, what the city has been trying to attempt to do is to save money, you know, and then I guess here it doesn't matter, but I don't know. I don't know.
All right, anyone else? Councilor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. I think I'm just, first, I'll roll into the Branford. I am concerned, I mean, when you're mentioning today about people in white hazmat suit, I did see them walking behind Branford today, and I recognize there was 3 in civilian clothes and 1 in the white suit. I'm only going to say from a personal standpoint is that I had some water damage in my house, and they had to do asbestos containment. And certainly I didn't want my children or anybody, and also anything, there was a question whether the wrap was down in my basement, whether it was asbestos, it wasn't asbestos, yes, there wasn't, but it was hard pounding on my side where I had to say, this is not acceptable, this needs to be done, and it wasn't, wait. So I think I was in a great role. I didn't have a lot of people backing me up. But I feel like if I had somebody backing me up, that I would think it would have even went even faster. But it was just constant pounding with either the group that was doing it, voicing my opinion, making the complaint, saying this is unacceptable, so forth and so on, where my children and my family were not at jeopardy. So that's very concerning to me, and that I understand this is a larger part, and then we have to go through the building inspector, but I think when we have something health concerning, that I don't understand how we don't just get a complaint and we do this. In reference to that, I wanted to ask, I'm not sure if it's known, are some of the Branford Manor residents who are not within Branford that are moved out, are they all contained within Groton City, or are they outside the Groton City limits?
I do not know the answer. They're probably outside the city limits.
Okay.
They try to keep them in Groton. They try to keep them in the same school district, so keep them in Groton. But I do know there's at least one person that is at Spring Hill Suites, because I was part of a email trail in order to make sure that her daughter had transportation to Fitch and that her son had transportation to his school. And at one point, I was backup, and I was going to be taking the daughter to school if they were unable to get it resolved, but they were able to get it resolved. Sam Kilpatrick got in the middle of it and got it fixed.
Okay, so I just, yeah, it's just interesting. I appreciate all the efforts that are being made in that, but I find it interesting how when somebody's outside their nexus, in order to be transported in, that just promotes a lot of stuff. So I'm not sure what behind the scenes is, why we have people in Groton actually being moved into somewhere outside, even across the bridge. It does make it a little bit more difficult as far as transportation in different ways. And then, so, listening to Ian and Portia speaking in reference to both of these issues, but also in reference to the election. So I'm kind of a sit back kind of person for a little bit. I like to collect my facts and look at decisions. So the facts that I'm hearing in reference to this from everyone. So with Branford Manor being such a hot issue and talking about unaffiliates, I wonder how many unaffiliates we have in Branford Manor, and what would be their vote? Because if we're there for them, I would like to see how many are going to be able to go out to vote, and are they unaffiliated, and what are their opinions? Because, I mean, are we asking out in that neighborhood itself? I mean, I know that they're not the only citizens, constituents of Groton City, but it is a hot topic, so it'd be interesting to see what they feel and think, to have people behind them. So that's my take on that. And with that being said, I want to know if we've ever run, I'm just gonna throw this out, like a monkey survey that we used to do when I was a nurse, but do some type of survey that would be sent out generally to people, and it's anonymous, to find out what their opinion would be on instead of just chatting, well, I heard, I spoke, da, da, da. Could we actually get a survey done where we actually have documentation of what people prefer? That's just my suggestion. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Who is this? Oh, Councilor McCabe.
I actually really like the idea of the referendum or the monkey survey. I agree. You know, I can talk to somebody, Deputy Mayor Depot can talk to somebody, you know, you guys can talk to somebody, and we can all come up with different answers. And I think just collecting as many as we can from as many diverse groups as we can is a great idea. I think that's a wonderful idea. We're talking about saving money. That one I'm not so sure about because the registrar came and she said that it doesn't save money. So I'm not sure. I would have naturally thought it would save us money to do it one time, but she did say it didn't, so I'm kind of not sure that's the deciding factor for me. But the referendum or the survey would be great.
Yeah, I was, sorry, I don't mean to just back for
Hold on,
I was just sort of,
hold on, you don't have the floor yet.
I'm
You
done.
done?
I'm done.
Okay.
yeah, I was discussing, I was discussing overall with, I mean, it will save money, even if it's a little bit of money. I don't see how it wouldn't. That's one thing. The second thing, I'm talking about overall logistics of things, right? Like we're talking about Branford Manor, right? You know, shuttle services or whatever we have to do to get people there, you know? It saves money to do it one day, get it all done, rather than 2 days. Then you're thinking about constituents and voters having to miss work, right? Where they changed it here because election day, typically you get off of work, right? It's an automatic reminder. The people that I speak with in Branford Manor, right, they've all said, again, why is it in May? They don't get off work in May, right? And a natural reminder to go vote is that their kids aren't in school, right? That's a natural reminder. So I don't know how it doesn't make more sense if we're talking about voter turnout and looking out for everybody. Why not to change it to November? Because what I know is that the people that typically come out and vote, the people that are educated in our politics, they're going to vote anyway. They're going to go out twice a year and do it anyway. If we want to get more people and look out for everybody, right, it makes more sense to me to not, actually we're not changing it, the legislation already changed it, all we're doing is keeping it. So I'm really starting to kind of question, it's getting interesting on why we're so adamant to change it, as opposed to just keep it to where the legislation said that it better be suited for us. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why. I think I'm gonna ask questions, but it doesn't make sense to me why we wouldn't change it to November.
Councilor Sheffield?
Well, in
Yeah,
response.
just response.
Yeah.
Let's keep it to just response and not get into
Right.
dialogues.
In response, again, I think going back to that legislation, it is based upon the schools, the kids. Inconveniencing the schools, having it in May to where they had to make adjustments during the election time. So here, having it in November, school's closed, the parents can be home, the parents can go out and vote. They don't have to adjust their schedule as as much because school is out. So they can make their time around all that. So, along with, I guess, with the school system itself. So that was, I guess, the primary reason for the change. But for me, I think it helps, again, I mentioned the inclusiveness, bring more people to the ballot box. I remember doing door-to-door campaigning when I first started. Many people didn't realize there was an election in May, and you had to educate the voter just to vote in May because everybody knew the election was in November. So we had to, at that time, re-educate to let them know that there's an election in May. In this case, you don't have to do that education anymore because people know there's an election in May, in November, so it'll be a natural fit for everybody to come out to vote in November. But I understand folks in the city feel that, well, if that word consolidate, to where, okay, are we gonna try to mesh with the town and be like the town and not have our own autonomy? I think with the two separate ballots that are gonna be provided, I think they'll have the clarification to where there shouldn't be a problem as far as disseminating between the town and city, electors. So I think, again, bringing more people in for November all at once, I think will be the better move for everybody involved. So we don't have to go to two elections. And not that some people like it that way, but it doesn't have to be if you can bring it all together in one day. So I think it's more of the convenience part, not so much worried about the autonomy of losing the city identity. And I don't think we'll lose it.
Okay. Councilor Norris?
I just want to thank you both for coming, taking your time out, and voicing your opinion and your concerns. And I'll reserve my comments for when we meet next week.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Approval of the minutes, make a motion, I'll accept a motion to approve the mayor and council minutes
So moved.
of 6 September 2022. We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Communications reports, Councilor Norris.
I just wanted to say we had a committee meeting last week, Monday. If I'm in the wrong section, I apologize. Economic Development did meet. I'd like to thank Sierra Patrick for coming to the meeting and give us a quick rundown on the business grant that is available to city businesses at the moment. She also talked about the city tagline, and I asked that people get to the city website and look at the various tagline layouts and give their opinion. And we also went over very briefly some of the short-term goals for Thames Street, and we talked about types of activities that could be happening there in the very near future. So it was a very good meeting, and again, I thank her for being there.
Okay, Councilor McCabe.
Just to add on to the committee meeting last week, we also had the Public Works Committee meeting, and the Director of Public Works came, and we had a discussion on both the ordinance for trash pickup and as well as discussing snow removal. And we will be working on a clarification of the trash ordinance and probably have some follow-on discussions on the snow removal.
Okay. Counselor Sheffield,
Nothing to report.
Counselor Piazza,
Nothing to report?
Counselor Carter,
Nothing to.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier today, I attended the project announcement, I guess, for the Groton sale. I know it's been a while since we discussed it in this group. I think it was brought up a couple years ago for the sale from the submarine to be brought back to Groton. It's been years in the works. And they decided a while back on the site, which is at right in front of the public library, between the public library and the senior center. So they've now put a poster, or not a poster, well, yeah, like a billboard out there with the design on it. So I would encourage residents to go look at it. The design for it is really cool. I think it's, the submarine named after our town should be here. And unfortunately, we couldn't find a good place for it to go in the city because they want to make it, it's going to be quite large. And the space right there is perfect for it. I've lived here all my life, and I used to go to the public library all the time as a kid. And I think it's a great spot because when I was a kid, they had the Indian there, and we used to run around on that grass all the time. And so I think it's neat to have a space where we can remember the service of, submariners and the people who build them, and right here. So I encourage everyone to take a look at that if you drive by or stop at the library. And if you are inclined, there is information to support that committee. If you are interested in more information on how they're getting that done, I know the mayor's on the committee for the sale committee, as is Representative Joe Dela Cruz is on that committee. So if you have questions about it, contact someone on the committee, but it's a cool project, and I was happy to be invited. On the 15th, I attended a meeting at Thames River Magnet School that Pfizer did regarding a remodel of the building that they're doing. They are going to be repurposing one of their buildings, and to do that, they are going to need to put some more wastewater treatment space to compensate, and they already have some there. It processes their wastewater before it hits our system. So some of the questions that people asked were, was it going to cost us more money to process? Which it's not, because what they're going to do, they have to get it to a certain level before it hits our system so that it doesn't cost us more money. And the rate of usage increase should be insignificant according to the meeting on the 15th. So, and on the 13th, I attended the Public Works and Economic Development and my public safety meeting. Public safety's items are kind of tied in with what's happening with economic development. So we had a great discussion on that. And I know we've been increasing this last year or so, having the economic development specialists at our meetings, and I think that's really helpful. So if anyone has questions on economic development, please feel free to send them our way, or you can attend those group meetings where we're discussing those things. And as always, on any of them, if you have any questions, please let us know.
City Clerk?
No, thank you.
Okay. So just a couple things. Quantic Road is still under construction, and we're hoping that that'll finish up in the next couple months.
5-6 weeks.
Okay, 5-6 weeks. Farmers Market is still going on, and then once it's done here, we'll transition into the auditorium for the winter, fall, winter. We are proceeding with the purchase of the Costa House, just to let you know. We did a tour just to make sure there was nothing egregious in the house. And so I sent out the letter today, and that starts the 60-day clock. So we'll have that purchased here in theory in the next 60 days. And then that's it. That's all I want to talk about today. Committee referrals. Are there any committee referrals?
No, Your Honor.
Anything here? Okay. Moving on. New business. Councilor McCabe. 110.
Resolution R-22-9-110. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council waive the bid process and authorize a purchase order to Axon Enterprise, Inc., 17800 North 85th Street, Scottsdale, Arizona, for the Axon Enterprises body camera software support and storage in the amount of $19,356.00 to be paid from fiscal year 22 Police Department operating funds. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. What this is in 2019, our department purchased Axon body cameras, and we have them for a 5-year payment program, and this is year 4 of the 5 years. So this will be payment number 4 coming out of our budget. We just obtained new cameras through the program this year, so we have all brand-new cameras.
Question or comments from the council? Councilor Piazza.
Thank you. I just wanted,
Point down towards you. Point it, someone's is pointing at the speaker, that's why it's doing that.
I think it's ours. I just was curious in reference to the storage. What does the storage actually mean?
The storage is when our body cameras, when we use our body cameras, we take them off, we put them in a docking station, and then they upload to the cloud, which is a secure cloud area, and we have a certain amount of storage amount, and they charge us for storing the videos. So we can get in there any time on the computer, look at them, download them, and after a certain period of time, depending on what the videos are tagged as, if they're crimes or felonies or just motor vehicle accidents or training, they will be deleted at a certain period of time. So they charge us for storage.
Okay, that was going to be my next question, is basically how long they actually store. So it's according to how they're classified, I guess
Yes,
you
ma'am.
could say. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries.
Thank
Deputy
you.
Mayor Depot. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-22-9-111. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize the acceptance of a grant and aid award from the State of Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection in the amount of $2,700,000 and no cents for the replacement of the Shore Avenue seawall, and that Mayor Keith Hedrick be authorized to execute any and all documents. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Director Robarge.
Good evening, all. Thank you. Just a quick note on this. This project began around 2014. We're going to do some work on the road down there, and the wall was identified as being problematic. Thank you. So permits are in place with DEEP as well as Army Corps of Engineers. The permit with DEEP went in 2020 and is valid through 2025. The Army Corps of Engineers. Sorry? Yep, Army Corps of Engineers was also 2020, and that will be needed, I think that's a 2-year permit, and that will need to be renewed. The city has design and engineering plans in hand. Eelgrass beds were identified within the project. These must be protected via monitoring, so we will be doing during, and post-construction monitoring of the eelgrass beds. We did perform a baseline that was in August, so we have that in place already. A short while ago, we began discussing funding opportunities with our congressmen and state legislators. We were notified in May that the State Bond Commission would be reviewing the project for inclusion on upcoming funding. Then on May 26th, we were informed that $2.7 million in bond money was authorized by the governor's office, which was a win. With your acceptance, we will proceed with the contractual process with DEEP. Funding for the project will include bidding, construction administration, and inspections. Thank you.
Okay, so one of the things we're gonna need, this is for the acceptance of the grant. We're still gonna need to determine the final cost for the project. I'm on the long-term recovery committee for the town. The town has set aside $1.4 million For ARPA funds, we need to determine what the full cost of the project is, and then we'll take out $2.7 million, and then the town will fund the rest. So, just to let you know. Any questions or comments on this motion? Councilor Piazza?
About when would the construction actually start?
We don't know yet.
We'd like to get that out to bid, shortly. So working with Deep right now, once we have the stamped, approved acceptance of the funds, we can move forward with that. So my anticipation, I'd love to get it going next summer. So we have to perform it, we have to wait until there's a certain period for the eelgrass, so they'll let us start, I believe it's August. So once August comes, we'd like to get going. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Norris?
I apologize. Do we have a guess on how much we're talking about? Because,
It's originally 3.2.
okay.
Actually,
Is that-
so, no, so,
You have, is that in our?
yeah, so 2019, we had a price that was just a little bit under 2.8, and that included contingency. So
Okay.
we'd have to get it refreshed, right? That's been 3 years, so.
All right. So where this grant is 2.7 million, and then the 1.4,
1.4 for the town,
that,
for ARPA.
but that wouldn't get used if we do not need more than the 2.7?
That's correct.
Thank you.
So the original agreement with the town was, they said, you get your half, we'll get our half. Now, in my mind, it's town's total responsibility because of the special act. However, in good faith, we went out and we searched for the 1.4 million, and Senator Summers was able to get the 2.7 million. And at the same time, the council agreed to using ARPA funds for the 1.4. So this money will be spent first, and then if the ARPA funds need to be touched, then we can do that. Or at least that's my understanding. I could go back and talk to John and spend the 1.4, and then spend the 1.4, and then whatever extras here, and then we return it back to the state. I'm not sure that would be received well by the council. So,
Yeah, and based on the proposal that we had, the estimate of 2.8, we requested 2.8, and we were awarded 2.7, so it was wonderful.
do you
19, I believe.
do you want the floor? Okay, you're acknowledged, you have the floor. Well, you do need to be acknowledged.
Sorry.
You have the floor.
I think that, just thinking ahead, I think that if that was projected in 2019, then we would assume that the price of that's going to be higher because of what's happened since then. So I wouldn't assume that it would be around that same price. We're going to be back here again trying to vote for more funds
Yep.
if we don't think accordingly.
All right, that's why we're going to determine, we're going to get another estimate before we start any digging. Absolutely. Counselor Sheffield?
Yes, but like, since inflation's like close to 10%, you would think probably the price might go that much higher, as far as what will get billed, so, you said negotiate potentially for a higher grant down the road, or is this the lock solid,
No,
Oh.
that's it?
We are locked in at 2.7. And again, the 2.8 price that was back then did include contingency, which I'm sure was 10 or 15%, but I agree that, we've definitely outgrown that.
So we've all experienced supply chain issues here, so
Yeah.
this is why first of all, what we're doing is we're accepting this money.
Correct.
That's what we gotta do. This first step,
yep.
to accept this funds, and then we need to determine what the new price of the project is, and then find out where we are. Okay? So that's what we gotta do. The first step is to accept this grant. Any other questions or comments on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you, council, for coming out. Thank you, Bill.
Well, I never.